Hello, everybody. Oh, well, there we go. Sorry. Sorry to wake you all up. Hello, everybody. It's a real pleasure to be back here at the Sales Innovation Expo. Cognism has been exhibiting here since 2017 when we founded as a company when we almost had zero revenue. And so this event has really helped us to build this company. And so it's always a pleasure to be back here and to see all the companies and the new companies. So I'm James Isilay. I'm the CEO and founder of Cognism. Cognism is a B2B sales intelligence company. We help provide data to companies so that they can help drive their sales funnel and to drive opportunities in their sales funnel. This talk's really about driving revenue through more conversations. So the utopia for cold calling is how to increase your connect rate by 7x. So what we're going to cover is the importance of improved connect rates and what they can do for your sales team. So I'm sure everybody's reading the news these days, and the big topic of discussion, of course, is recession. So it's really changing all of our metrics in the sales funnels. I mean, I see this as a CEO of a company. I'm on boards of other companies. I talk to a lot of our customers. I talk to other companies in our industry. And if you just look at the public results of companies on the stock markets, you see there's a common theme. It's getting harder and harder to close deals. Deal win rates are going down. Deal sales cycles are going up. And that's just a consequence of the fact that the economy is going into recession. What does that mean for us as leaders, and what can we do about it? One of the big impacts is that it's going to get harder to actually get deals over the line. One of the big consequences that before in the old world, we just had like one decision maker that would sign off a deal. So like, for instance, just the head of sales would sign off the deal. Now in the new world, one of the big consequences is that there's a lot more decision makers. You know, one of the immediate things that you have to do is that a lot of companies are doing is they're putting their CFO into a lot of sales processes to ensure that there's a sign off from the CFO that there is budget for that new tool, that new service. But you might even get new decision makers like the head of legal, the head of RevOps, the CFO. So there's a lot more decision makers that you need to build a consensus around before a deal will close. What does that mean? That means a lot more conversations and a lot more talking and a lot more hard work needs to happen to actually get a deal over the line. This is what the overall impact is of just a recession. That the deal win rates go down. So without that entire buying committee, if we go through and do this in the same way that we did it before, which is just target one decision maker, we'll find that those deal win rates stay very low and just keep dropping as times get harder. What we really need to do to get the deal win rates to stay as they were before or improve them is really engage those decision makers, all of those decision makers, all of that buying committee, and understanding that buying committee, which is evolving and which in a lot of companies is getting bigger. We need to understand that very quickly at the beginning of the deal. We need to get those decision makers engaged, and that will help us to get the deal win rates up again. One article that I got from a Clary article that I read was the deal rates are going down 28% when the word economic downturn is mentioned on a call, and the word economic downturn is being mentioned on a call far more often. So there's just another example of what's actually happening out there. Overall, deal win rates are going down. So there's two camps we can be in. We can be in the pessimist camp, or we can be in the optimist camp. And I'm always optimistic. I'm an entrepreneur. My company wouldn't exist unless I was an optimist. This is a great quote: "Pessimism leads to weakness, optimism to power." There's one. If you read the history of recessions and the history of some of the great companies that we have today in SaaS, like Salesforce, one of the big differences that happened when there were previous recessions is those companies invested in their teams, they invested in their sales processes, they didn't let lots of people go. They were optimists during these times and not pessimists. And that's how I am trying to be with Cognism at the moment, is to really be optimistic, ensure that we really protect our people, ensure that this is like a time to invest in our processes, to improve our processes, and I think really the nature of this talk is really that this is a time where we really dig into our metrics, we improve our processes, in particular having more conversations with more decision makers, which will help us drive long-term better win rates. So in a recession, what's typically seen, search traffic goes down, marketing budgets get slashed. SDR teams, though, typically are remaining the same size. Usually they're not growing, but typically SDR capacity is typically staying the same size. How do we get more from what we've got? We need to, as we said, speak to more stakeholders, drive efficiencies in the sales team, and be smarter about how we score and target the prospects. If you think about it before we could kind of have a scattergun approach where we'd have all of that SDR capacity that we had targeted at a big range of a large number of companies, because usually one conversation would help us close a deal, maybe two conversations. But now we might need like 3 to 5 conversations in a particular prospect to close a deal. So now that same sales capacity we have has to be really, really focused on our best opportunities. So that again is why we have to be smarter about using that sales capacity. I always like to one of the things about growing a company and being on lots of like accelerator programs when my company was young is, why is the advice I'm getting valuable, which is really about, like, I really like to just show this slide as a proof point about why should I speak to you about this, like what's my authority, my wisdom to tell you, like, that this is about this topic. So just so you know, like Cognism last year grew from 11 to 22 million in revenue. This year we've grown from 22 to 44 million in revenue. We actually had our best month ever in September as a company. So even during these difficult times, I think that our investment in sales technology, processes, and people has helped drive these results. And we're actually are seeing, like September was our best month, and it's really because we're being more efficient, and we're actually investing in our people and our technology. We're making sure that we are having more conversations and we're improving our processes, which is helping us to have the same results despite these economic times. So what's the Cognism solution here? Really, it's about optimizing the SDR team time. I'm going to go on a little bit later in this presentation about having improved conversations as well, because I think that's an important topic. I read some great research and I wanted to share it. But just for the Cognism side, really what we want to do is equip reps with the best quality data. That's our kind of general message to everybody. The more conversations you have, the more deals you're going to close, the higher the win rate's going to be. We have to really, at this point in now, get smarter, dive deep into the funnel, look at the metrics, and then really, really work on optimizing all of those metrics. Like, again, we just have to be smarter, and we have to work like twice as much to get the same kind of results that we had last year. So again, building really, really good lists, then getting a really good dial to connect rate. Those then have conversations, producing meetings, and then our meeting show rate will go. All of those together is how we have those great conversations and how we get the deal win rate back up. Here's like typical SDR maths. I love maths. I was an engineer. I was actually a software programmer. I'm not a salesperson. So the maths don't lie. I always say that. Like this is like really important. So understanding the SDR connect rate illustrates the time and effort required for each dial, and how time wasted on inaccurate dials as a result of poor data can impact revenue. So really, the accuracy of the phone numbers, making sure that our reps are actually phoning accurate phone numbers is really important. Your reps are going to spend less time on incorrect dials, less time phoning. They're going to secure more meetings, and that's going to boost revenue down the funnel. This is like a typical, SDR, week. 70 dials might produce 20 conversations, which turn into 10 meetings, right? So if we can do anything to tweak those metrics, we're gonna build better sales. We're gonna build the sales funnel at a faster pace. And as we said before, right now, we need to have even more conversations with more people to get that same win rate that we had before. So conversations are critical now, more critical than they've been before. Also, like, the other really interesting thing about this economy that we're in now and these economic times is it's not like the same economic crisis that we had in the 1970s and the 1980s, where we had high inflation but also high unemployment. This is a different type of recession where we're having at the moment, high inflation. In the UK, 11%, in America, around 8%, if you believe the headline figures, but it's probably higher. But we've also got very low unemployment, which means that we got very, very high SDR costs, so it's like people costs. And that's probably going to stay that way. So we really have to think that we have this huge investment in SDRs, and this is how I've always thought about it on the Cognism side. We invest in our people, but we also need to invest in the tools and the data that they have to make them as efficient as possible. This is kind of like a typical total cost for your SDRs, and you see like the data makes a small proportion of that. Probably what's going to happen with inflation is that the cost of the SDR is going to keep going up. SaaS tools at the moment, like locked into multi-year contracts, are going to stay the same. Eventually they'll catch up. But overall what should be happening with these trends is the SDR cost, the red part should be growing and the green part should be shrinking. So again, we really need to maximize the use of our SDRs in that time. So what Cognism's done is we feel we have an innovation in this space, something that makes us a bit different. We have this diamond data. So what we've done with our numbers is we've verified them. We have multiple ways, a mosaic way of doing that. We have research teams, we have partners that mark our records. So we really want to make sure that that phone number that you're using, if we've marked it as diamond, it means that we know that phone number belongs to that individual. So we know if you build a list, you're not going to phone somebody and it's gonna go to an empty line, or it's gonna go to the wrong person. We think like quality of data is absolutely like essential for these times. What does that mean for diamond data? It means 5 times the increase in reach, 7 times the increase in connect rates, 25 times less attempts to get through a cold call list, and then 80% less data needed for better results. So it all, again, high quality data filters down to all of those metrics. It filters down to our SDRs being as efficient as possible, and then it filters down to higher velocity in the pipeline. This is just a typical example. So like without diamond data, the 40 contacts might provide 5 live conversations. With diamond data, 40 contacts would produce 35 live conversations. So that just shows you the difference that high quality data can have on your SDR teams and building highly responsive lists. Just to prove this out ourselves, we do this ourselves internally. We run like cold calling blitz days. So this is like some of the results that we had from a cold calling blitz day that we did in the United States. And from this, you can see that the average connect rate here was 25% versus the industry standard connect rate of around 3%. That produced 8 times more live conversations with prospects. So those metrics, those stats are really important. That's really going to help you build pipeline a lot better. It's going to help you build more pipeline. It's going to help you have more conversations, which is going to, again, help that win rate move up. So how do better connect rates improve your organization? Well, it makes your SDRs happier. I don't know. I heard some recently that just as things get difficult, as people are finding it harder to book meetings, as they're finding it harder to close deals, the pressure on reps, the pressure on AEs is getting higher. I mean, I think sales is one of the most stressful jobs out there. I was an IT engineer, and it's kind of there's not like this constant push for performance in IT, right? I go in, I write my code, I build the thing, it works, I deploy it. It's a very linear job. There's not like a constant psychological pressure. In sales, there's a constant psychological pressure, right, to perform. If you don't hit these targets, you're going to get fired. You're going to be out in an economy that's terrible. Like the pressure now in a recession is going to be like 10x what it was last year, and it's going to get worse. So we really want to give our reps the best data and the best tools for them to actually achieve their targets. That's going to take the pressure off of them. So our more SDRs will hit quota with better data. We have more conversations to make the jobs more interesting, exciting, and best practice. There's nothing more frustrating as an SDR to dial numbers that don't go anywhere. We're going to be able to build relationships and use the phone as another channel, and that's going to help with increasing retention and happiness. Again, we want our SDRs performing. Always, from the end of an economic recession, there's always a great good times again. There's always a great boom. Those companies that cut their teams, that cut their SDRs, are the ones that get hurt the most when the recovery comes. You don't know when the recovery is going to come. That's why, like, for me, the focus is in retaining my staff, not cutting jobs now, and making sure that we have the team that is going to be able to pick up the opportunity when times boom again. Connect rates improve sales efficiency. So yeah, increased sales efficiency benefits SDRs. The phone empowers all parts of the sales teams, AEs as well. As we said, these deals now need to have more conversations to close. So again, we need to, like, we're not just going to the SDR booking in the new meeting. Now, once we've even got the new meeting, now we need to bring in and pull in more decision makers that are going to help that deal close. So it's critical all the way now throughout the opportunity to bring in more and more decision makers. So with more conversations, AEs can multi-thread deals better, and again pull in all that buying committee and account managers as well. Renewals, again, same story applies there on the renewal side. More decision makers are needed to be pulled in. Conversations need to happen earlier to help secure that kind of mindset that we're going to take this deal over the line and we're going to renew this deal. So yeah, so all in all, better data is going to help have those conversations faster, and it's going to help secure renewals, it's going to help secure new business, it's going to help secure expansion opportunities. This is from Gong. This is this data. This was like data from pre-recessionary times, and it just shows and highlights that the more that we multi-thread deals, the more decision makers we have in deals, the more we're going to get the win rates higher. You know, everything from like just one contact is a 5% win rate to the fact that we have 4 contacts and we have a 36% win rate. So my question to like everybody in the audience is just look at your process for engaging extra buyers in the extra decision makers in the buying journey. Like if you've got a low win rate right now, and if you see your win rates dropping, have we asked our sales teams, are they bringing in everybody that needs to be in that conversation that needs to be in that buying decision? Have they brought in all the decision makers, or are we missing decision makers, or bringing them in too late, which is what's impacting and dragging down our win rates? So yeah, increased connect rates also help with employee retention. As I said, going back to that, 66% of AEs achieve or surpass quota, which has a direct employee engagement, satisfaction, and consequence to retention. Because if our reps are hitting targets, if they're making commission, they're going to be happy, right? Salespeople are generally money motivated, and so again, with this economy is funny in that there's still going to be a people shortage. Those companies that are laying people off now are going to really suffer when things recover, and they're going to have to pay up for talent for sure, if they can even find the talent on the market. So one of the things we should think about as leaders, sales leaders, or myself as a CEO, is that in these times we really need to be really respectful and treat our talent, give them the best tools, give them best, and look after them during these more difficult times. Just something that I've added to this is, and one of the things that I find truly interesting right now is that we have a new weapon in this recession now to help us, which is conversational intelligence. I'm not going to recommend any particular vendor. This is the G2 Crowd grid for conversational intelligence, and I recommend everybody goes out there and explores. I think it's super important that sales orgs invest in these tools. They understand the conversations that they're having with their customers, and they understand how the tonality is changing of those conversations, and they feed that back into their sales process. But just some research that I took from Clary, because I just found this super interesting and I wanted to share it, because I think it's super important that in these times that we think about having better conversations, right? We need to think about, when I founded Cognism, I created a script for how we should talk about our tools, and that was typically the script that got used for years later, like some variations on it, but these were really during the boom times, and now things are changing in terms of objections, and this is some of the research on that, which I just wanted to share, which I thought was important. Overall, I'm going to go through several topics that are kind of mentioned in these conversations, and then just what that research means. In general, from this Clary research, all of these topics are being mentioned far more in conversations, but it's important. Keywords are affecting deal close rates, and that's super interesting. And we need to kind of read all this research and feed that back into our sales teams and make sure that the right things are being discussed to help push win rates higher. So just on budget, the word budget, when prospects talk about budget on a call, the deal win rate goes up by 31.3% in Q2 2022 versus the average deal win rate of 15%. There's actually an increase from deal win rate of 3.5% seen in Q4 2021. This shows the effectiveness of budget as an objection over time. So when reps talk about budget as a qualification question, the deal win rate increased by 8.5%, but this is actually decreased from the deal win rate of 27% in Q4 2021. So this shows the effectiveness of budget as a qualification question has reduced. So it's again really important that we understand how are keywords, how are key conversations affecting the deal win rate. Timing. So when prospects talk timing on a call, the deal win rate goes up by 39% in Q2 2022 versus the average deal win rate of 15%. There's actually a decrease from a deal win rate of 60.6% in Q4 2021. That's a shocking decrease, right? 60% down to 39%. Again, it shows what's happening actually at a granular level down in these conversations. So when reps talk timing in the deal win rate decreases by 11%. This is also a decrease from the deal win rate of 9% in Q4 2021. So again, just interesting how certain keywords or certain paths in conversations affect deal win rates. Discounts. So when prospects talk discounts on a call, the deal win rate goes up by 30% in Q2 2022 versus the average deal win rate of 15% deal one. This is actually a decrease from a win rate of 35.6% seen in Q4 2021. When reps talk discount, the deal win rate increases by 14.5%. This is actually a decrease from the deal win rate of 20.6% in Q4 2021. So probably, again, not having a giant effect, probably just affected by the actual trend that we're seeing in terms of the fact that there's just a lower deal win rate because it's harder economic times. ROI. So this is an important one. When prospects talk ROI on a call, the deal win rate goes up by 38.7% in Q2 2022 versus the average deal win rate of 15%. This is actually an increase from a deal win rate of 29.7% in Q4 2021. When reps talk ROI, the deal win rate increases by 31.7%. This is actually an increase from the deal win rate of 27.5% in Q4 2021. This one a little bit blew my mind because usually every research I've read about ROI is that you don't bring ROI into conversations because ROI decreases win rates. This would prove the opposite. And it's quite an interesting one to kind of experiment and look around. For sure, like now when people question budgets, the budget conversation now is typically bringing in the chief, for instance, the CFO. That's something that I've heard again and again and again. ROI, I would well imagine, isn't a keyword that resonated particularly well with a sales manager or a sales leader. But with a CFO, ROI is a word that resonates a lot more strongly with them. So I think, like, again, that's why certain keywords are going to be more important going forward because of the types of decision makers in the buying committee that are going to help close the deal. And again, this is the stuff that we need to really, really dig into the research, and we need to pass it back to our sales teams. We need to thread it in and make sure that it's threaded into the right conversations, going along the right paths to help deals close. So just again, back to SDR maths. This is where it's so important. We really need to. I would urge everybody on a almost weekly basis now, and with more intensity, look at the stats of your individual reps. Dive into those. Look at everything from how many dials are they making to connect rates to the conversations they're having. That's really about, are we building the best, most efficient lists? Are we using the highest quality data? That gets down to the construction of the list, and then we're getting those meetings. How many of those conversations are converting down to meetings? That's just everything I just ran through. What is actually the substance? What's in the granularity of those conversations? What's the path? Are we using keywords that are putting people off? Are we pulling in all the right decision makers at the right points of time? If those conversations are not leading to opportunities, then probably we're not thinking enough. We're not being smart enough about the types of conversations and the things that our reps are talking about in those conversations. Again, we can get win rates back up, but it's just going to be a lot of extra work. So I know you all missed him. So I say, once upon a time, the economy was all swimming. Of course, there was the pandemic, but it was all easy a year ago. Now times are harder, and we can choose to work harder, or we can choose to work smarter. I think actually the truth is probably we need to do both, and that will get us to have the same kind of results that we had pre this recession. So thank you, everybody. Please connect to me on LinkedIn, and if you have any other questions, if you want to share data, if you want to share research, then I'm really happy to do that. Let's all work together with all these great tools, with all this great data, to get our reps closing so that we can help our companies keep jobs, and to deliver the revenue. So thank you all.